Hanny Time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Sandegriff.
And a pleasant good afternoon. Welcome to Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I'm Charles Sandegriff along with Mario Jerez, Taylor Sharp, man in the board. And these guys are all kind of upset. I walk in here today. You know what topics I got for today's show. We're going to talk about basketball. Okay, so LSU basketball, Taylor's all upset about that because they can't score. Pelicans basketball, Mario went all the way down to the blender last night to not watch them score. We're going to talk about Sean Payton today. Mario's very upset about that because he's going to coach somewhere else next year, and it ain't going to be New Orleans. And he handed me today's shot sheet, and he just says, man, this is a whole lot of upsetting. Okay.
Truth.
Well, welcome to today's show. And so none of that is the lead. Actually, some of that is the lead. But I did want to touch on this story first before we get too far wrapped up here. Spencer Sanders, who played quarterback at Oklahoma State for quite some time, is transferring to Ole Miss. This is the second transfer quarterback that Lane Kiffin has welcomed in this week. You might have heard about the other one. So this would beg the question. You are transferring out of a certain school, let's just say LSU, just for the hell of it, just as an example, because there were experienced quarterbacks in front of you and it was going to negate your reps. Perfectly acceptable. I understand. Going to go somewhere where there are fewer people in front of you. Got it. All right. So let's try to solve this mystery here real quick where Walker Howard is concerned. Going to play a little trivia here. They're not trivia. We're just going to play, just kind of, you guess it. How many games has Spencer Sanders started in his career at Oklahoma State? He was there quite some time. Taylor, I think you know the answer to this.
Yeah, it's 43.
43. Going into his fifth year, right? How many games has Jaden Daniels started in his career?
Jaden Daniels has started 43 games in his career.
Really? Okay. And Spencer Sanders was the full-time starter for most of his time at Oklahoma State, the same way that Daniels was the starter for most of his career at Arizona State, right?
Correct.
Got it. Okay. So 43 starts and 43 starts at other schools in Power 5 conferences, and you're coming in to the Southeastern Conference. Daniels has already proven his deal, and Spencer Sanders, I'm just guessing, is not going to transfer into Ole Miss because he wants to be the backup quarterback. I mean, he's a pretty experienced guy. There's other schools out there looking for quarterbacks. There were other places he could play. Hell, he could have stayed at Oklahoma State and played. I mean, he kind of knows the territory, right? Backup quarterbacks. How many games has Garrett Nussmeier started in his career? Taylor?
None.
Now, he did play, we're going to call it a de facto start against Arkansas in 21 when Max Johnson went out of the game very early, and he played most of the games. So let's just say one, all right, just to be fair. How many games has Jackson Dart started in his career?
19,
including all of the games last year at Ole Miss?
Yes, all 13.
Okay, all right. So we've established the starter at LSU and the I'm going to call Spencer Sanders the starter. Remember when Jaden Daniels came in here last year and everybody goes, who's going to start? Like, this guy started 3 years at Arizona State and he came in here. He's not coming in here to chart plays, okay? He's going to start. Spencer Sanders had options. He is going to Ole Miss. He will be the starting quarterback, barring injury, for the first game and probably all the games after that, unless he really stinks. And Spencer Sanders doesn't really stink. He's not great, but he doesn't really stink. Okay. So starting quarterbacks, it's a wash. Backup quarterbacks, where does a backup quarterback have more experience? 19 to almost 1. Okay. What am I missing here? So you got to dig a little bit deeper. When did school start at LSU?
Yesterday, January 18th.
Mario's doing academic calendars for us. Okay. LSU has started school. In school, on the football team, enrolled, eligible, boom. Let's go. When school started, Ole Miss?
It
Taylor?
starts on Monday, the 23rd.
I see. Anybody in the room want to take a bet that Jackson Dart's going to be in class on Monday?
I would bet that he is not going to be in
I
attendance.
would bet that he is not going to be in attendance. If he is in attendance, I will be surprised. I will be flabbergasted if he is there in the fall. Okay? You start 12 games at a school. You start out 7-0. You fade down the stretch. You win one game the last month and a half of the season. Coach brings in experienced quarterback to start, brings in hotshot 5-star to be the backup. Where is Jackson Dart today? You getting any love? Getting any emotion? Getting any affection from Lane Kiffin today? I'm guessing not. So that takes care of our quarterback reps for the day. I am curious though, that Dart didn't get wind of this and hightail it out of there, beforehand. Just was a starter. You're the starter, and they bring in two other guys that have this kind of profile. Anyway, I tell you all of that to tell you that LSU lost to Auburn last night, 67-49. This is a game that requires a lot of in-depth analysis. You ready for the in-depth analysis? Here we go. LSU can't score. I'm done. That's pretty much it, man. I'm sorry. You can't shoot 29% from the floor and 20% from three-point range and 65% from the free throw line. I mean, it's what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? There's not any scoring that they're hiding. Man, they play that guy on the bench. He'd score a lot more. Though I would like to see the freshmen that were highly recruited playing a little bit more, 18 games into the season than they are. If you're going to stink, at least stink with guys that, may have some long-term benefits, but not just this second. They've lost 5 games in a row. Matt McMahon talking about keeping up morale amidst the 5-game skid.
I think it's tough. I do. It's the reality of what we're in. But the only way I know to do it is to keep working. Come to work, the right mindset. There's not one man in that locker room that can fix it. It's going to take everybody, and that's what we'll continue to do. Not easy. Easier said than done. But I think, we always hear this. I think everyone's been told this. The adversity's here. It's here. We're staring at it. You find out what you're made of.
Nobody's questioning if Matt McMahon can coach. That's a given. We've seen his teams at Murray State. We've seen enough of these teams at LSU. They compete. They play hard. That's not the issue. I think that they are fairly disciplined in what they can do. There's a limit to the talent level on this team. We knew that coming in. He was facing a very difficult transition. The guy showed up to an empty locker room and potential sanctions. But I am concerned about what you're building towards the future. And by the future, I don't mean the immediate future. They're going to get drilled by Tennessee on Saturday. And, they're going to win a handful of games in the Southeastern Conference, and that'll be that for the 2022-23 season. I would like to see, though, a little bit more progress from guys like Jalen Reed, from guys like Tyrell Ward, from guys like Sean Phillips. Those guys combined to play 16 minutes last night, and that's been pretty much the MO the whole way, and none of them scored a point. Now, all 3 of these guys were 4-star guys. Maybe they were overrated. Obviously they were overrated a little bit, but somebody somewhere thought that they had some talent, and they all were very highly recruited kids. And at the beginning, when they're freshmen, you say, well, they're having a tough time making the transition to college basketball. I get it. Happens to a lot of freshmen, especially with Reed, as a big that, got away with the word on him is, the things you did in high school, you can't do in college. Well, that's the way for most of them. I'm concerned that it hasn't gotten better. Okay, those guys play 4 minutes a game in November and December. Okay, we're getting towards the latter part of January, and I would like to see them play some more. because as much as I, like KJ Williams, he's going to be gone next year. And I'm starting to look as we approach the halfway point of the SEC season, I'm starting to look towards the future of the program. And what I see is 3 very highly recruited kids that can't get off the bench for a bad team. And I see a recruiting class from the early period that doesn't exactly have superstars in it. Now, there's a transfer portal and there's a late signing period, and I'm sure Matt McMahon has a plan. And I knew that this was going to be a struggle of a season. If you didn't know that, you just weren't paying attention, okay? And you can lament, well, they should have kept Will Wade. Look, we did that story. LSU was not willing to stand behind Will Wade. The guys that hired him were not here. The guy that hired him didn't want him anymore. But the guy brought in talent. Say what you want about his bench coaching. Say what you want about his maverick attitude. Say what you want about the sloppiness with the phone call getting recorded. The guy brought in talent. Right now, there's a serious lack of talent on this team. And I get that. This was a transition year. I want to know about the talent moving forward. I understand about changing culture. It's perfectly acceptable that you were going to struggle at times this year. I don't expect them to be able to beat a team like Alabama. Don't expect them to beat a team like Tennessee. Even Auburn, who is not as good as they have been in some of the other Pearl years, is, way out in front of LSU. But I was hoping for a little bit more progress from the young players, because that's what's starting to bother me. Stinking this year was expected. Stinking next year is going to bother me a little bit. You got to move the thing forward, and I'm just not seeing a whole bunch from the younger guys that may be a part of next year's team. They also lost Justice Hill. McMahon explained that he has stepped away from the team.
In regards to Justice Hill, it's not a disciplinary situation by any means. He will be stepping away, or has stepped away from the program for the time being, for personal reasons. I don't have a timeline on that. We'll see how it proceeds as we move forward from here.
Hill was playing 26 minutes a game, averaging 7 points a game. This opens up some playing time for somebody else. Hill was, not setting the world on fire. He was shooting 30% from the field and 50% from the free throw line. So, I hope he gets whatever it is taken care of. But in the meantime, it's where do those minutes go, and how can those minutes be most productive to this team and to teams moving forward? It's I know I've said this before, but unfortunately I have to say it again. This is going to get worse before it gets better. You got Tennessee coming in on Saturday. Then you go to Arkansas, who lost another close game last night, and at this point is looking to get a piece of somebody that they can beat, and that's LSU's only win. You got Texas Tech, who in the Big 12 Challenge. Texas Tech is the worst team in the Big 12. Problem is the other 9 teams may all make the NCAA tournament. So 10th place team in the Big 12 right now would probably be a top 5 team in a lot of other leagues, including the SEC. Then you go to Missouri, then you get Alabama again before the schedule finally starts to soften up a little bit in February. You can pick up a few wins. I don't think that they have won for the last time this season, as it was suggested to me last night. They're never going to win another game. No, they're going to win a handful of games, because there's some teams in the league that have some of the same problems that they do. For instance, Mississippi State has a lot of the same problems scoring that LSU does. So they'll find a few wins. It's building towards a future that I am most concerned about. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Another team having a hard time putting the ball in the hole last night. And then we'll get to the Sean Payton stuff. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. As we begin 2023, some deals on pretty much everything on the lot right now. 3.9% APR is available for 60 months on most models. $1,000 loyalty cash on the MDX and the TLX. 2-year, 24,000-mile complimentary scheduled maintenance on all of your 2023 models. If you're going into the certified pre-owned lot, know that these vehicles, the certified pre-owns, have been through a rigorous inspection to get them back up to code. You're going to get a 7-year, 100,000-mile powertrain coverage. roadside assistance, which is just invaluable when you're talking about older drivers or younger drivers that, may not be able to change a tire or may not be able to do something very basic to get them back going. First scheduled maintenance is free and complimentary service vehicles during your maintenance. Add in the transparency and pricing in the family atmosphere. That's why you should be doing your car shopping at Acura and Infiniti of Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 1073.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hanny Time, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution. A network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. Former Saints GM Randy Mueller joins us to talk about the Saints offseason, and the one and only Stephen A. Smith joins us. Hopefully you will as well. 3 to 6, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remind you, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com. Pelicans suffered their worst loss of the season last night, 124-98 to the Heat. Mario, you were at the Blender last night. What'd you see?
Really good basketball from the Heat and some really lethargic play from the Pelicans from the start. Offensively, obviously struggling, still without Zion, still without B.I. They were coming back from that road trip. It was just a bad start to finish, wire-to-wire win for the Heat, who were playing really well.
Yeah. So I didn't get a chance to watch very much of the game, so let me give you my expert analysis. The Pelicans couldn't score. They score better than LSU does, but the Pelicans couldn't score. Now here's what I saw. I saw just fragments of the game last night. Jimmy Butler played 27 minutes last night. Bam Adebayo played 31 minutes last night. Tyler Hero played 24 minutes last night. Zion Williamson played 0 minutes last night. Brandon Ingram played 0 minutes last night. Herb Jones played 0 minutes last night. This is getting harder for the Pelicans to overcome. The fact that they're 26-19 and they've had their lineup together for, 20 minutes, it seems like, is becoming more and more of a problem as the season goes along. First of all, you give Willie Green a lot of credit for, piecing this thing together night after night where, it seems like the guy has not had his entire lineup together since Halloween, okay? So he's doing what he can. And you also give the players on this team a lot of credit for stepping up and doing what they're doing. I'll give you two. Jonas Valanciunas is not missed a game, all right? And they tried to give him a game off on the road trip, and he's like, no, I'm playing. And Dyson Daniels, who, when they drafted him, everybody liked, myself included, loved the long-term potential. But we're talking about a 19-year-old kid here who was never expected to play this many minutes this soon in his career. And he's done a great job. Defensively. Now, offensively, he's challenged. But that was a scouting report. Dyson Daniels is going right down the middle of his scouting report. If you wanted to take something positive out of the game against Cleveland earlier this week, go see what he did on Donovan Mitchell when he was guarding him. Mitchell went for 71 a week and a half ago, okay? Daniels at 19 years old is actually guarding him. I think he was 3 of 10 when Daniels was on him. So you're doing all these things. You're 26-19. You're 4th in the West. That's a really good thing. But they've lost 7 out of 10. And my theory on this is that the scoring is going down. This team is wearing down because not very much is coming easy for them because they don't have Ingram and they don't have Williamson in the lineup. Zion Williamson gets a lot of easy buckets. And when I say easy buckets, I don't mean easy buckets in the vernacular. I mean easy buckets for him. Zion Williamson can do things that no other human on this planet can do. He's 290 pounds. He's got soft hands. He's got good feet. And he's got basketball instincts. He is a unicorn. He can do things that nobody else can do. The next man up thing sounds wonderful. There ain't another Zion Williamson. Brandon Ingram is a scorer in this league. He's an all-star level scorer in this league. They have gone 7-6 in games in which both of them have missed. Okay, they've lost 5 of their last 7 in that stretch. So what would other teams be doing without their top guys? And how many other teams are dealing with what Willie Green and the Pelicans are dealing with? So I decided to do what I always do when I'm wondering about in-depth stuff with the Pelicans. I called Ali Cosell. And, Ali works for the Bird Rights. He's a frequent guest on the show. And Ali knows the Pelicans in and out. And he says, funny you should ask. I wrote a column. Go look at it. I said, okay. So I went and looked at it. Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram have combined to miss 44 games. This was prior to last night. Pelicans record 26-18. Here are the teams that they are competing with in the Western Conference. The Memphis Grizzlies. Their top 2 players are John Morant and Desmond Bane. Ingram and Williamson have missed 44 games. Morant and Bane have missed 27 games. Combined, it's 17 more. Okay. Denver Nuggets. Joker and Jamal Murray have combined to miss 11 games. The Pelicans have missed, the top 2 players for the Pelicans have missed 4 times as many games as the top players for the Nuggets. In case you're wondering why the Nuggets are, 6 games in front of the Pelicans, well, start right there. Those are the top 2 teams in the West that you're looking at. What about the top teams in basketball altogether? Celtics, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have combined to miss 7 games. 7 games. The Pelicans' top 2 guys have missed 44 games. Top 2 guys for the Celtics have missed 7 games. It is amazing that the Pelicans are within shouting distance of these teams. The only team that the the Grizzlies are actually the closest in games missed. The Sixers, Joel Embiid and James Harden have combined to miss 26 games. They're 28-16. That's essentially the same record as the Pelicans have. What are you trying to replace here? Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram combined for 47 points a game. That's roughly almost half of what they had last night, just a little under half of what they had last night. And C.J. McCollum is picking up the scoring slack. He's actually a half point ahead of Ingram at this point. Tatum and Brown account for 58 points a night for the Celtics. Jaylen Brown is their second leading scorer. He scores twice as many points as their third leading scorer, Malcolm Brogdon. Morant and Bane combined for 49 points a game. Joker and Murray combined for 44 points a game. You see what Harold, you see what I'm getting at here? You can only do so much for so long if your guys aren't playing. And they're going to be without Williamson for another month. So Brandon Ingram desperately for this team needs to get back. I mean, desperately for this team needs to get back. And I don't know the nature of the injury. It's a toe. I know that when you count on your athleticism for, what Ingram does, you got to be able to push off on that thing. And if it hurts, and you can't play and you don't want to injure it worse. But man, there have been a lot of other guys that have come back a lot. So Christian Clark wrote a great piece earlier in the week. Don't kill the messenger. He was just saying what I said about 3 weeks ago, and you cringed, Mario. I called him Street Clothes Jr. You got to get on the floor, man. I mean, you got a great coach. You got a lot of depth. You got a lot of momentum. But sooner or later in the NBA, you got to have your stars. And right now, the Pels are right outside the top three. Why is that important? Well, as Ollie points out, you've had the only teams that have won the NBA championships outside of the top three in the last 40 years are the Rockets back, when they the mid-'90s in the non-Jordan years when they came, they came out of the bottom of the Western Conference and went on those runs with Hakeem and Clyde Drexler. There's no coach in the league that can overcome this for much longer. Okay, so they got to get those guys back. Willie Green is actually talking. Hey, you're trying to bounce back from that. They're tired. I mean, from the little I saw last night, they look a little bit tired. They're worn down. They have to be. There's 60 minutes a night, 60 to 65 minutes a night that Williamson and Ingram are supposed to soak up that they're not soaking up. Yes, they are tired. Willie Green talked about taking it on himself.
I go home and look myself in the mirror and figure out what I can do to put our team in a better possible position to win the game. And I encourage all of our guys to do the same. There's no finger pointing. It starts with me. I'm going to go home looking in the mirror, take this one on the chin, go back, watch film, and get after it in practice.
It's the absolute perfect thing he's supposed to say. It's fantastic. And when Willie Green goes home and he looks himself in the mirror and he closes the bathroom door so nobody else can hear, he's just got to start screaming, "Give me my guys back, please. Why do I have to coach with one hand tied behind my back?" I'm not even saying this is anybody's fault. I'm just saying it's what it is. And I applaud Green for not just going to the press conference and saying what he probably wants to think which is, hey, man, I'd like to play those guys without their best players. I'd have loved to have played the Heat last night with Adebayo and Jimmy Butler in street clothes. That'd have been a lot easier. Give me my guys and take the other guys away. Watch how good a coach I am. But he didn't say that. He said, man, it's on me. Awesome attitude. Great way to go. Pels need some help, man. Hang on. Help is on its way. Please get back. Take a break, come back and talk about Sean Payton so I can get Mario really upset. That's next here. Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
If you're a business owner, you're having problems with staffing, it's one of the most time-consuming and oftentimes frustrating parts of the job. Tiger Labor and Staffing can help take care of your interviews, your screening, all those background checks, your training, take care of a lot of your payroll expenses, let you get back to going to work and moving your business forward. They'll handle not only the interview process, but the onboarding. So if you need temporary help, somebody for a day, a week, or a month, they help you control your labor expenses. They increase your flexibility during your peak seasons. You lower your employment risk with a temp to hire option of only 60 days. That's the lowest in the industry. If you're looking for a job, Tiger Labor and Staffing welcomes skilled and unskilled labor. They'll match you with a job that fits, quick turnarounds on pay. Get your work done without the worries. Tiger Labor and Staffing success begins with the eye of the tiger. Online, it's tigerlabor.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
We know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Have you ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
3 people walk into a bar. The first 2 order the same old margs. The third, Nuevo Topo Chico Margarita Hard Seltzer, crafted with real lime juice and a crisp.
Jimmy Ott and Charles Hennigrove for the Thursday evening edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're downtown at Jolly Pearl Oyster Bar on north facing Town Square. Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. presented by Bet Rivers on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hennigrove on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sean Payton saga picking up steam. I shouldn't call it a saga. It's just a regular old guy looking for a job, right? Nothing to see here. Interviews continuing. He's going to meet with the Panthers tomorrow in New York City. David Tepper, he of the roughly $14 billion net worth. Last time this guy conducted a coach's interview, he didn't let Matt Rule leave the building to interview with the Giants. Also got Joe Brady a nice paycheck. So he's, like a lot of billionaires, used to getting what they want. I would love to know. Love to know. Been trying to find out. Can't get it nailed down, but I will, maybe after the fact, but I will get it nailed down what the Saints wanted from the Panthers in compensation for Sean Payton. Because if it's anything less than the Hope Diamond, they're coming up short. Anyway, they had to grant permission because that's what you do, but they had to agree on compensation. Better be plenty, and it better be enough to dissuade them from hiring him. Anyway, David Tepper and Sean Payton going to have lunch tomorrow. Ian Rappaport with an update on what's going on with Sean Payton.
Houston Texans were on Monday, Denver Broncos in Los Angeles for multiple hours. That happened yesterday. Then he's got the Carolina Panthers in New York with owner Dave Tepper later this week. And as of right now, that is it for Sean Payton, Mike. And the Arizona Cardinals also have a request in. They've received permission. All of these teams are willing to meet the Saints' asking price, which is a first rounder and likely more. So they are in business and they are ready to do the deal.
Yeah, the more part is what I want to talk about. David Tepper is he's a little bit scary. I mean, the urban legend is that, and he's got enough money to do it, that this guy once bought a restaurant and just so he could fire the waitress that had given him bad service. I don't know if that's true, but it's one of those stories with guys with $14 billion. Rappaport ultimately talked about this coming down to what Payton wants.
For Sean Payton, I think there's a couple things. One, all of these teams represent interesting and different opportunities, so it's really a matter of him deciding what he wants. Russell Wilson in Denver, obviously. Houston Texans do not have a quarterback. Will likely be picking one at number 2. Carolina Panthers also do not have a quarterback. Does he want an established one? Does he want to help pick his own? Where does the cap space land? Some teams have general managers, like, say, the Denver Broncos. Some teams, also Houston Texans, of course. And look, there's varying degrees of would he get final say, would he not? A lot here at stake for Sean Payton and a lot of decisions to be made.
I think I see what they're doing here. This is maybe a coordinated effort to get both Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis what they want. Payton's list, we've gone through it a bunch of times. He wants a certain amount of control over personnel decisions. He wants a stable ownership group, and he wants plenty money. Peter King said about a week and a half ago, $20 million a year. Now we're hearing it could be even more than that. All right, whatever it is, it's an astronomical amount of money. Houston can pay it. Denver can pay it. Carolina can pay it. Arizona won't pay it. Arizona hired a general manager this week, which is fine, but without Sean Payton having input into that and knowing the Bidwells, I'm ruling Arizona out. And Indianapolis hasn't asked for permission yet. So that leaves us with Houston, Denver, and Carolina. I'm going to take Carolina off the table for the moment, assuming that the Saints have asked for such astronomical compensation that Carolina won't meet it. Am I going to be a little bit? I wasn't nervous until Jimmy started talking about this. Man, I'm nervous. I'm like, oh, well, I guess now I am too. But I trust that Mickey Loomis put such a high compensation tag on Sean Payton that Carolina will say, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. We'll go on another. If Sean Payton was on the open market, yeah, but in this case, we're not going to do it. So that leaves Houston and Denver. I thought that Denver was the front runner because the Walmarts own them. And $20 million is aisle 6. Okay, they don't care about money. There's no bearing on anything they do. Whatever it costs, pay it. We want this. Go get it. Also, that Denver, while they didn't have the draft compensation that you'd prefer, they did have some. They've got a late round pick from what ends up being San Francisco in the Bradley Chubb deal that went over in the Trey Lance deal in Miami. They've got it. It'll probably end up being 29, 30, 31. But what Denver does have is a lot of young players. These are players that you might include in a deal. Now, I've been talking about this on the podcast a lot. I've gone through Texas, the Texans. I've gone through the Broncos. I've gone through the Cardinals. Young players that could be used in place of draft choice compensation if you don't have it. These are all guys that are on rookie contracts that have performed at a level through their first year or two that ordinarily would never, ever be brought up in trade compensation. Guys on rookie contracts that are producing are like gold. In my opinion, they're worth more than draft choices because you know what you're getting. Now, Denver, if you were to, say, send the 30th pick, which could be to New Orleans, in my opinion, for Sean Payton, that's not enough. and they don't have, unless you go into the 24 draft, they don't have a lot of other, draft picks that would be, big time sweeteners unless you send a lot of them. And you're not going to get a play. I'm not talking about players like Patrick Surtain. Okay, Surtain's untouchable, but they do have a really nice first year lineman named Quinn Miners, and he was a 3rd round pick out of Wisconsin Whitewater that's turned into a heck of a player. He's $1 million on the salary cap. Under ordinary circumstances, you would never trade him, never. But you don't get a Super Bowl winning coach on the market with new ownership very often. Jerry Jeudy, okay, but really not what the Saints are looking for. They've got receivers, and Judy's $4.8 million against the cap. He was a first-round pick. Not really what you're looking for. Javonte Williams, though. You wanted to put Javonte Williams in a deal. 21 season, he ran for 903 yards. Last year, he ran first 4 games he got hurt. He was a 2nd-round pick in 2021. $1.4 million against the cap. Saints need young players in that running back room. Damari Mathis, 2nd-year cornerback, will be a 2nd-year cornerback next year. He was a 4th-round pick out of Pitt. Played in all 16 games, 65 tackles, 7 pass defenses. He makes $870,000 a year. These are valuable players. You play fantasy football, you probably know who Greg Dulcich is. There's a tight end there, 3rd-round pick out of UCLA. Only played 10 games this year, but he had 33 catches for 411 yards. $940,000 on the cap. These are they got a safety named Caden Stearns. He was a 5th-round pick last year out of Texas. Played 15 games as a rookie. Had 28 tackles and 5 passes defensed, a couple interceptions. He matched his 2021 production in 2022 in only 5 games before he got hurt. These are players that, like I said, you would ordinarily never even consider trading. You don't trade, like if somebody called up the Saints right now and said, hey, man, what do you want for Chris Olave? Nothing. we traded draft choices to get him. He's on a rookie contract and he's productive. Nothing. You hang up the phone. But this is a unique trade. If Sean Payton is available and you got to outbid somebody for him, you do some unorthodox things that bring, in my opinion, maybe not, maybe they're still hanging up the phone. In my opinion, this brings trade chips to the table that would ordinarily never be there. So let's talk about the Texans. I thought when we started this that the Texans would be off the table because I didn't figure that Sean Payton wanted to work for Cal McNair. Cal McNair inherited the team from his father when his father, Bob McNair, passed away. And I'm sorry, but he has run the organization since his father's death like a guy who was born on third base and thinks he hit a triple. Whoever the next coach of the Texans is will be their 4th in 4 years. They've had organizational problems besides that, and I'm talking about besides Deshaun Watson. It has been a mess. But Texans have an enormous amount of draft capital, and if you look at it real close, they had a fabulous draft last year. I mean, a fabulous past Derek Stingley, who was, it was good, okay his first year, but what they got in the later rounds, I'm going to go through this here in a second. But first, this was Sean Payton talking about whether he would seriously consider a job with the Houston Texans.
Absolutely. Here's why. I think I know the ownership group, not very well, but we practiced against the Texans in New Orleans 4 or 5 different times. So Cal McNair, his late father, we'd see them, and so I don't know them well, but I know them. When you practice for 3 days with an opponent, you get a chance to meet a lot of the different personalities and people involved in the building. They've got really good draft capital. They're in a division that you can at least look at and say, all right, Indy, Tennessee, Jacksonville is nothing, but you can at least. So I think there's growth potential immediately there from their 2 or 3 wins that they had this year.
I was really surprised about the division comment. That's the kind of thing that people put up in really bold letters on bulletin boards. But I knew what he was saying. If I take the Denver job, I got to deal with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert for the next 10 years. If I go to the Texans, I only got to deal with Trevor Lawrence while the Titans and the Colts figure out their quarterback problems. Draft capital is significant, and you don't expect that they will move the number 2 pick in the draft. I don't think that is on the table. If they did, you take that, you say, I'll take the number 2 pick, you take Sean Payton, we'll go solve our quarterback problems, and you get on down the road. I don't think that's on the table. But they do have Cleveland's pick at number 12, which fits a lot easier. They've also got the first pick in the 2nd round, number 33 overall. They've got their pick in the third round, which was number 65 overall. We're talking about a really good player here at 65 if you do it right and cheap. And they've got the Browns' third-round pick at number 73. Then they've got their own fourth-round pick at number 101. So they've got 6 picks in the top 101. I also like this for another reason. If you take the 33rd pick, let's say that's included in the deal, and you go out and you do your scouting and you scout character and makeup, you get a guy at 33 who is pissed off he wasn't a first-round pick. You get it, and to a lesser extent, you get a guy at 101 that is absolutely steaming that he wasn't a higher pick, but you still, a top 100 pick if you want to use it that way. Then they've got 4 sixth-round picks if you want to throw in some sweeteners. So all of that works. The Texans also lit the draft up last year. Forget about Stingley, like Surtain, he's off the table, but they took a safety in the second round named Jalen Petrie, who was phenomenal last year. Played all 17 games, had 147 tackles. You want to put that guy in the deal? Now, again, normal circumstances, hey, Texans, what about Jalen Petrie? Hello? Did you lose signal there? No, I'm not talking about him. But it's Sean Payton. If you got to outbid the Walmarts, does this player certainly come into play? Fourth round, they took a back named Damian Pierce. Fantasy football guys know who he is. Just under 1,000 yards. Also had 30 catches this year. 22 years old, makes $1.1 million. Saints need a running back. Here's another name that you'll know for sure. Christian Harris, linebacker, U-High, Alabama. 22 years old, had a birthday this week. Happy birthday, Christian. Played 12 games this year. Showed some potential. Pretty good in coverage in particular, which is what we remember from him from Alabama and what we remember from him at U-High. Coming out of high school, they were worried about what position this guy was going to play and was he physical enough to play linebacker. One thing I know, he can run. Here's another thing I know. Makes $1.2 million next year. 22 years old, second year on his rookie contract. Cheap, productive, upside. All in. They took another lineman in the first round named Kenyon Green. He started 14 games last year. He wasn't, according to most of the people that cover the Texans, he wasn't very good. But look, second-year lineman as opposed to first-year. Cesar Ruiz got better. Still not as good as I wanted him to be, but got better. Giants took Andrew Thomas out of Georgia as a rookie. He was awful. As a second-year player, he was, I think, second-team All-Pro, and now is one of the best tackles in football. So lineman, so that's 4 guys right there who would not be in any trade discussions ever, ever, ever unless it was for something really special. Something unique. Sean Payton fits that book. So in my mind right now, the Texans are the favorite. It's close. I think it's Houston or Denver. I don't think it's Carolina. If it's Carolina, Monday, if somewhere over the weekend Sean Payton signs and is the new coach of the Carolina Panthers, I'm going to be unhappier on Monday than Mario is today. But I think it's Houston or Denver at this point. And they both got their pluses and minuses. I don't know what Sean Payton thinks of Russell Wilson at this point in his career. I can tell you that I watched a lot of Denver football this year because I bet against them a lot because Nathaniel Hackett was the worst coach I've ever seen. And when they got to the end of the season and Hackett was gone, Wilson started to at least resemble the quarterback that we once knew as Russell Wilson. Sean Payton's his coach, there's no doubt in my mind. He gets a lot better. So maybe he's willing to do that. By the way, did I mention that the Walmarts own Denver and they've got lots of money? Don't discount that at all. But McNair's not broke, okay? So if Sean Payton is willing to work for a guy who's had 4 coaches in 4 years because he kind of knows him, that was what he said, right? I kind of know him. Okay. Draft his quarterback at 2, whichever one he likes. Take some of his draft capital, shove it to the Saints. Solid young core there. Could happen. Houston's my favorite in the clubhouse right now. I got Houston as a favorite, Denver at second, and the Panthers at a distant, I hope, very, very very distant third. Come back and wrap things up here. Good night in college basketball for a Thursday. We'll talk about that when we come back and take your questions. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Well, our friend old Big Mike out in Denham Springs. The crew at Denham Springs has appointed him, elected him, anointed him. He is the Grand Marshal of the Denham Springs Parade on February the 11th. So get out, say, throw me something, and say hello to Big Mike. He's going to be a great Grand Marshal. That's a fun parade, by the way. If you've never been out to the Denham Springs Parade, I've done it a couple of times for the radio station. It's a fun parade. It's got enough substance to it to seem like a big parade, but it's still got that small town feel to it. It's a lot of fun. Live music tonight at Big Mike's. Chris Allen tomorrow night, Caitlin Renee, and of course drink specials Monday through Friday from 3 until 7. And they're so generous with their happy hour that on Sunday they do it all day. Start at 11 in the morning. So you want to go watch the NFL playoffs, some college basketball at Big Mike's. You can do that with drink specials all day long, starting at 11 a.m. Terrific atmosphere for live music and games, and a great meal for you as well with daily lunch specials. Big Mike's on Aspen and Denham Springs. We're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications. The powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution. A network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
We know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this.
On Fridays, OTB, it's time for the weekend, and we get you ready for all the hot NFL playoff action. Plus, what do the Pelicans need to do to get out of this current slide? Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
For those in the chat, yes, I'm aware about players for coaches trade straight up, but there's ways around it. You can kind of finagle the compensation if you really want to. I want to say that it's extremely unlikely that any of those players move. Okay, I mean, I'm talking about an extremely creative situation if you want to get to that. So no, what I'm telling you is not likely in any way, shape, or form. Just throwing it out there as a possibility. College basketball tonight. A couple of interesting games in the Pac-12. UCLA, who has not lost a game since before Thanksgiving, is going to Arizona State, who has won 4 in a row and is been pretty good of late. Their NET, their net rating is down a little bit because of some early season losses. They lost a game to Texas Southern. Johnny Jones is good for one big upset a year, isn't he? And they also lost. I don't know how this happened. I didn't see this game. They lost by 37 to San Francisco. But of late, they've been better. And USC is going to Arizona, who I thought 3 weeks ago was one of the best teams in the country, but has been up and down of late. And then Rutgers, who has been a little bit of a kind of a road darling, is at Michigan State tonight in East Lansing to face Tom Izzo's crew. So some interesting college basketball. We'll be at Jolie Pearl tonight for Jimmy Ott's Game Time. And we'll be with you at 6 o'clock for Mario Jerez and Taylor Sharp. I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has 80